Number 18. Baby Toby baptized the Goblin King. Working with infants guarantees unpredictability, and the production learned this lesson in a particularly memorable way. The baby playing Toby couldn't be directed, couldn't hit marks, and certainly couldn't be expected to behave professionally. During one scene with David Bowie, the infant delivered a moment that would become legendary among the crew members present. The baby urinated directly on Bowie during filming. It happened without warning, as these things always do, leaving the Goblin King's elaborate costumes soaked in a decidedly unglamorous manner. The moment could have provoked anger or frustration from a lesser performer, especially given the time required for costume changes and scene resets that would inevitably follow. Instead, Bowie reportedly found the entire situation hilarious. His laughter broke any tension on set and turned an awkward accident into a cherished production memory. The incident became a running joke throughout the remaining shoot, bringing levity to difficult days. It perfectly encapsulated the unpredictable nature of film. Even the most carefully planned scenes can be derailed by an infant with unfortunate timing. Bowie's graceful reaction only deepened the crew's affection for their leading man. Number 19. Sarah's room explains the whole film. The opening scene offers far more information than most viewers realize on first watch. Sarah's bedroom appears briefly before her journey begins, seemingly just establishing her as a typical teenager surrounded by typical possessions. But careful examination reveals something extraordinary. Nearly everything she encounters in the labyrinth already exists in that room, hiding in plain sight. Toys on her shelves include figures resembling Hoggle, Ludo, and Sir Didymus. A statue of the Goblin King watches from a corner, and an Escher print hangs on her wall, foreshadowing the impossible staircases of the film's climax. Even the labyrinth itself appears as a decorative bookend. These details were meticulously placed by the production design team to reward attentive viewers and suggest something profound about Sarah's journey. The implications transform how the entire story can be interpreted. If every element of the labyrinth exists in Sarah's room, perhaps the adventure represents an internal journey rather than a literal one. She might be navigating her own imagination, confronting parts of herself through fantasy. This reading reframes the film as a psychological drama disguised as adventure, a story about growing up, letting go of childhood, and discovering inner strength. The room tells you everything if you know how to look. Number 20. Hoggle was lost for decades. When production wrapped, the elaborate Hoggle puppet was carefully stored along with other valuable props from the film. He was an irreplaceable piece of cinema history, a technical marvel that had required countless hours to design, build, and operate. Then, somehow, he simply vanished. For years, nobody knew where Hoggle had gone or what had happened to him. The mystery persisted for over a decade, with fans and collectors speculating about his fate. Some assumed he'd been destroyed or discarded. Others hoped he was sitting in a private collection somewhere, waiting to be rediscovered. The truth, when it finally emerged, was stranger than anyone had imagined. Hoggle turned up at an unclaimed baggage center in Alabama, apparently lost somewhere in transit and never retrieved. The discovery made headlines and sparked efforts to restore the deteriorating puppet. Years of improper storage had taken their toll, but Hoggle's journey wasn't over. He eventually found his way to proper preservation, a rescued artifact from a beloved film. The strange odyssey from film set to lost luggage facility somehow perfectly suited a character defined by grumpiness and bad luck. Even off-screen, Hoggle couldn't catch a break, but he survived to tell the tale. Number 21. A real dog inspired Sir Didymus. The fearless fox knight who rides a cowardly sheepdog seems like pure fantasy invention. Sir Didymus charges into danger without hesitation, completely oblivious to his own limitations, convinced of his heroic destiny regardless of reality. This personality wasn't created from nothing. It was inspired by a very real and very beloved animal who displayed remarkably similar qualities. Jim Henson based Sir Didymus on his own family dog, a small terrier with an outsized sense of courage. The dog would challenge much larger animals without any apparent awareness of the size difference, barking fearlessly at threats it couldn't possibly defeat. That combination of bravery and delusion struck Henson as both hilarious and strangely admirable, perfect material for a memorable character. Knowing this origin adds unexpected warmth to every Didymus scene. The knight's unwavering confidence, his refusal to acknowledge danger, and his absolute loyalty all reflect genuine canine qualities that Henson clearly adored. Even the relationship with Ambrosius, the terrified steed who knows better than his master, mirrors the dynamic between bold, small dogs and their more sensible companions. Personal touches like these give the film an intimacy that purely invented characters rarely achieve. Sir Didymus isn't just funny, he's a love letter to a cherished pet. Number 22. George Lucas saved the final cut. Principal photography was complete, but the movie wasn't finished yet. Jim Henson faced the enormous task of assembling countless hours of footage into a coherent story. The editing process proved more challenging than anticipated, with early cuts running too long and failing to maintain the pacing the story required. Something wasn't working, and Henson knew it needed outside perspective. George Lucas stepped in as more than just an executive producer lending his name to the project. He took an active role in the editing room, offering suggestions that would reshape the final film significantly. Lucas understood blockbuster pacing in ways few filmmakers could match, having revolutionized it himself with Star Wars. His notes helped tighten sequences, clarify beats, and maintain momentum throughout Sarah's journey. The collaboration wasn't about Lucas taking over, it was about two visionary filmmakers combining their strengths during a critical phase. Henson brought artistic imagination and emotional depth, while Lucas contributed his mastery of structure and audience engagement. Without this partnership, the movie might have felt slower, more indulgent, less effective at pulling viewers through its fantastical world. The final cut bears both their fingerprints, blending Henson's heart with Lucas's instinct for what keeps audiences watching. Number 24. The film's failure broke Henson. Opening weekend delivered devastating news. Despite years of effort, technical innovation, and creative risk, audiences simply didn't show up. The movie earned modest returns against its substantial budget, qualifying as a genuine box office disappointment. For most filmmakers, this would have been a professional setback. For Jim Henson, it was something far more personal and deeply painful. Henson had poured himself into this project like nothing before. He viewed the film as a chance to prove that puppetry could achieve genuine dramatic storytelling, not just children's entertainment. Every technical breakthrough, every emotional beat, every hidden detail represented his ambitions for what the medium could become. When audiences rejected the final result, they seemed to reject everything he believed in and had worked toward. Those close to Henson described the period following release as genuinely difficult for him. The failure weighed heavily, affecting his confidence and enthusiasm in visible ways. He questioned whether his instincts had failed him, whether the years of effort had been wasted on something audiences simply didn't want. The experience left scars that never fully healed, even as his career continued. What nobody could have predicted was how completely time would reverse this verdict and vindicate everything he had tried to accomplish. Number 25. From flop to cult obsession. Home video changed everything. The movie that had struggled in theaters found new life on VHS, reaching audiences who had missed or dismissed its original release. Children discovered it through rentals and television broadcasts, watching repeatedly until every line was memorized. What had seemed like a failure began transforming into something far more enduring and meaningful. The cult grew steadily through the 1990s and exploded with the internet age. Fans connected across distances, sharing their passion and organizing events that celebrated the film's legacy. Annual screenings became traditions, with audiences dressing as characters and reciting dialogue together. The movie wasn't just remembered, it was actively loved, studied, and passed down to new generations of devoted viewers who found something special in its fantasy world. Today, the film enjoys a cultural status its original release never suggested was possible. It influences fashion, music, and countless other creative works. Tributes appear in television shows and films made by creators who grew up enchanted by its imagery. David Bowie's performance remains iconic, introducing new audiences to his artistry decades after his passing. The journey from forgotten disappointment to beloved classic proves that sometimes audiences need time to catch up with visionary work. The Labyrinth waited patiently, and eventually the world found its way inside. Number 26. The lasting power of the Labyrinth. 40 decades later, the film continues to find new audiences who fall under its spell. Parents who discovered it as children now share it with their own kids, passing the experience forward like a treasured heirloom. The story resonates across generations because it captures something universal: the terrifying, exhilarating process of growing up and accepting responsibility for your own choices. The Labyrinth represents the confusing path to adulthood, full of wrong turns and frightening encounters. Reaching its center means accepting who you are and what you're capable of becoming. That message never ages, never becomes irrelevant. It waits at the heart of the maze, ready to be discovered again by anyone brave enough to take the journey. What makes Labyrinth special isn't just its stunning puppetry or David Bowie's magnetic performance. It's the layers hidden beneath the surface. From